One of the most powerful thing or powerful phrase that has been helping me to really overcome it is to say to myself, and even I put a big note in my bathroom and I keep saying to this day is, I am enough. And to say it at least 3 times, I am enough. I am enough. Hello everyone, this is Kevlan, and in today's video I want to talk about, or I guess I want to share about a personal experience that I had, mostly related to a trauma that I've experienced during my childhood, and how this particular situation or experience has affected my life as an adult later on, until I was able to recognize that trauma and let it go. And letting go, the process of letting go has lasted quite some time, because it was so deep inside of me that it took me a while to really go and rise above that challenges experience that I had. So just to start the video, perhaps I should say that in our childhood, and again the first 7 to 10 years of life, and I mentioned in the previous video I talk about the first 7 years of life for a kid and how critical it is and why it is critical. So if you want to know more, I invite you to check out that video. But for the sake of this video, I just wanted to quickly mention that again, because it's important to understand the trauma and how it affects us later in life. So in the first 7 years of life, or in the first 7 to 10 years of life, our brain operates in what we call the theta and alpha brainwaves, and especially the theta brainwave. The theta brainwave is a brainwave associated with hypnosis. So this is where we are able to change and directly access the subconscious mind and change whatever patterns or programs that we have in our subconscious mind. So as a kid, we operate in the subconscious mind for the most part, especially for the first 7 years of life. And as a result of this, all the information we're going to be exposed to, whether it's through our environment or education, or parents, or communities in general, is going to affect us, because this information is going to be directly accessing our subconscious mind without being analyzed. What's kind of close the subconscious mind is what we call the analytical mind, and the analytical mind is really when we can start analyzing a situation and understanding why this is happening or why there is this. So we can actually analyze the situation and only get or take whatever we want that will access our subconscious mind. But in the first 7 years, kids don't have this analytical mind. So it means whatever they see, whatever they observe, whatever they experience is going to shape them for the rest of their life. It's going to shape their subconscious mind for the rest of their life. And that's the reason why a lot of us suffer from what we call childhood trauma, is because we were exposed to a certain event or certain situation that we could not analyze and understand why it was happening to us. And as a result of this, all we remember is how we felt during that situation. And usually if it's a trauma, we will have felt very bad, very sad, very angry, whatever happened during that childhood. And that will really affect our emotional, or really change our emotional self. So that's why a lot of us have this, childhood trauma that will affect the rest of their life. So if I look at myself in particular, so I had this event, this situation that made me feel a certain way. And usually when we have a trauma, a childhood trauma, this is something that later in life, if we try to remember a childhood and remember what happened during a childhood, that will be a time where we have a blank. We just don't remember what happened there. Even if someone says, hey, do you remember when you were 6 years old and you were playing with that person, or with your parents or whatever, or something happened to your parents or whatever, usually there is a blank. We just don't remember. And the reason is because it was so painful for the child we were to experience that situation and feel those emotions, that the conscious mind is going to shut up, like it's going to shut off that memory, and the memory will sit in the subconscious only, so behind or in the background of the consciousness, so that we can operate and our life normally without that hurt and pain, emotional hurt and pain. So that the reason why usually when we experience some sort of a trauma as a childhood, there is a blank, we just don't remember it. And again, it's just a mechanism from the mind, from the conscious mind, to protect us from feeling those emotions that were so very hard and challenging to process. But it doesn't mean that everything is erased. The memory of it sits in the subconscious mind, and this is going to affect us in a way as we grow up as an adult, until we are able to have the conscious mind observe that subconscious memory and change the pattern. So if I look at my particular experience, so I had this experience that made me feel a certain way, and obviously then it was a blank. I just don't remember what happened or how I felt during that time when I was a child, again, to protect me and to operate for the rest of my life as good as you can. But the thing is, as I said, it sits in your subconscious mind. So as you're going to grow up and you're going to be facing the world again and interacting with people, you're always going to react in a certain way based on that subconscious memory that you have that is associated with that trauma. So if, like in my example, just to give you a specific example, I felt a lack of love or a lack of worthiness to receive that love. So I felt really a lack of love, and I thought that I was not enough to deserve that love. So I had to do more and more and more. And when I look at my life, I've always felt that I was not enough. I always felt that I had to do always more in everything, in every situation, in every area of my life, in order to deserve either to get a promotion or to have more money, or to be loved by someone, or in every situation. I've always been in that mindset without even being conscious of it for a very long time. I was just the way it was. So I always had this lack of confidence just because of that particular situation. And the thing is, there is always when we have a trauma that sits in our subconscious mind, this trauma is always visible in a physical way, meaning that we always have pain or symptoms that will reinforce or that will shed some light on what we need to treat or what we need to change, or the trauma that we have that is been buried in our subconscious mind. I always say the body always expresses what the mind suppresses. So if you have any sorts of pain, any sorts of physical ailments, any sorts of recurring pain or recurring symptoms, it's a message. It's information about something that happened to you perhaps. And I would say a lot of the time those pains and symptoms are connected to something with our mind, something with our mental body or emotional state, or repressed emotion. So what I mean is, life always play or always show us what we need to change based on based on the symptoms, or based on the pain that we may have. So they always carry a message. And even in my case, I had certain symptoms or certain recurring thing that always was coming back to me, and I didn't really understand what was happening. Or you just look at it, it comes and goes, so you don't really pay too much attention to it until you're able to put the puzzles together and understand what has been going on for years and years and years. And now, once you are able to consciously see that, consciously find this information, now you can say to your symptoms, or you can say to your pain, I understand the message and I don't need you anymore. And there is so many even testimonies of people that when they were able to understand the root cause, which is, as I said before, very often associated to a mental or emotional aspect or experience that they had as a child or even later in life, they're able to overcome the symptoms, and the symptoms just disappear just like that. So it's just to show us that all these pain and symptoms also carry a message for us to acknowledge. But anyway, when I look back at this trauma, one of the most powerful thing or powerful phrase that has been helping me to really overcome it is to say to myself, and even I put a big note in my bathroom and I keep saying to this day, is I am enough. And to say it at least 3 times, I am enough. I am enough. Because it really helped me to understand that I don't need to do more. I am just enough the way I am right now, and I'm lovable and I'm ready for abundance. So it's I thought it was very, very interesting, and the reason why I wanted to share it with you today is the connection that we have with childhood traumas and how we're going to live our life, and what pattern we're going to have in our subconscious mind that will make us react and behave and live our life in a certain way, or experience our life in a certain way. So you always come back to this. So I invite you to also think about, or take a step back and try to observe your life and the way you react perhaps in certain situations, or the patterns that keeps repeating into your life. Because all these patterns, all the triggers you may have are related to an event, an experience that happened to you earlier in life, perhaps during your childhood, that is now in the subconscious memory, and that needs to be expressed and released once and for all. So perhaps you may have also some physical pain or some sort of a sickness or a recurring issues, physical issues that also carry the message to make you acknowledge that there is clearly something in our subconscious memory that needs to be addressed and released once and for all. So the other thing I wanted to mention is, and it's an invitation, if you have kids, I will ask you, or I will invite you to next day you wake up, to live the day as if it was the last day you'll spend with your kids. And love your kids as if it was the last day you'll spend with your kids. And love them as if they were enough the way they are. And they don't need to change, they don't need to do more, they're just enough. And you just love them based on what they are, so that you can they can live their life never feeling that lack of love. They can live their life in the future never feeling that they're not enough. And it's so important. So I wanted to share this message, share this experience, and how for me I was able to kind of release that experience. And as I said, it took me a long time to really release it, because when I say I am enough, I said it for quite some time, I am enough, but until you realize you're actually enough, it's just a word. So, but it starts with understanding that you're enough here and now, and you don't need to do more. You're enough to be loved. You're enough to receive whatever you desire. If you want to know more, I invite you to check out my book on Amazon, The Science of Breaking Free. I'll leave the link down below in the description. If you like this video, if you like the content, please subscribe to my channel, add a thumb up, and I'll see you in the next one.